The five on the court: Caitlyn Clark, Aliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexie and Damiris Dantas are all still with our team this year. Look at that team chemistry. Enjoy the 4 minutes of amazing basketball with no TV announcers and just the arena announcer and fans going crazy for this Fever team.
First back.
Write similar course script. First is a zoomed-in video of Caitlyn pretending to tiptoe towards the other side. Second video is the storm bench, and the third video is the full sequence of events from a bird's eye view from the basketball cam footage. Thank you, Bench Cam, for this footage. Indy versus Seattle. Today, what a cool story Jan tells when Caitlyn came back to Iowa City for the Iowa versus USC game. The impact it had on the freshman and Lucy Olson. CC offering to play the role of Juju for the practice. Such respect to USC for staying during CC's retirement ceremony.
When Caitlyn came back for her jersey ceremony, and what the freshmen thought, because the other ones had played with her except for Lucy.
Right.
And then also USC sitting on the bench during that ceremony was one of the classiest things I've ever seen. And it really, I think Lindsay Gottlieb is a rock star in this profession, as is Juju Watkins. But I guess just kind of that day from the perspective.
Well, it was fun. You know, Caitlyn, you know, we keep in touch, obviously, and text each other when you see something fun or something great happens or just need some encouragement both ways. I think Kate and Caitlyn, Megan Gustafson, I mean, they still text me all the time. Usually when the chips are down, right? That's when people they're like, hey, you got this. You know, it's just such a beautiful thing about the player-coach relationship is when they're living it with you. But before that game, about 10 days before, Caitlyn says, hey, you want me to practice? And I said, don't tease me, you know. She's like, no, for real. She's like, you know, it'll help me, you know, get in shape. And she's like, I could be Juju. I said, heck yeah. They changed the rule a few years ago. Your alumni could not practice before. Okay. But then they changed it so when they come back, they can come in the game. So I didn't tell our players until the day before. And I said, oh, by the way, tomorrow we're going to have an extra practice player, and it's going to be Caitlyn. And they're like, what? And I'm looking, and then they're trying to be kind of cool, you know. But they loved it. Yeah. I mean, during the practice, they were really, you know, cool. And, you know, Caitlyn was stroking it from 40 and, you know, just doing amazing things. And it was fun for all of us. I invited Lisa and Jenny to come back, Lisa Booter and Jenny Fitzgerald, to come to the practice. They never really come to practice. And we had some recruits in town, right? But there were different things that everybody had to stop, what Caitlyn did. Yeah. And, you know, she did she did do Juju pretty well, but no one's Caitlyn, right? Yeah. But it was really fun for Lucy Olson. Lucy told me afterwards, she's like, that was awesome. She's like, I was so nervous, but it was so awesome. You know? So you forget, right? I mean, Caitlyn is Caitlyn, and it resonates. So that was really, really fun. Yeah.
Jan talks about the magic of the Caitlyn Clark era.
Scott mentioned moving on from the Caitlyn Clark era, and you mentioned it throughout the season and doing that. But was that something that had to start internally for kind of the outside world to kind of pick up? And then how did you approach that with your team?
You know, I think that was, you know, as coaches, you do get that more than a fan, because that's what we do. Every year you lose if you do it right, a special class. Whether it has Caitlyn in it or no Caitlyn in it, you're in the locker room, blood, sweat, and tears, and you've been with them for 4 years, so that emotion is always pretty raw. But you understand you have to turn the page. So we're typically more prepared and well-versed in that than fans, even though that they are. But, man, those magical moments, it's just hard to let go because it was so fun. But then when you have a person like Caitlyn, I mean, arguably the greatest of all time in certain ways. Certainly, you know, what I think made Caitlyn, everybody always asks me, like, whoa, why? You know, why was she just so magnetic? Why was she, you know, the one? She was the only one that did something that only one other was doing, and that was Steph Curry. That's the end of story to me. Steph Curry was the greatest range shooter that arguably the men's game has ever seen. And then here's this kid, you know, out of the middle of the country that's doing the same thing. So what happened when we had that fun ride, it was, I mean, I did feel the pressure when we were in the adversity. Yeah. But, you know, my spouse reminded me, she said, you know, you did, you know, you're taking over one of the hardest jobs because you had one of the biggest personalities with one of the most fun teams, and there's a lot of change. So when I just stayed in my lane and just kept everybody being who they could become, and that's what you do every year with typical teams. And I knew this fan base understood that, though, or they wouldn't have sold out, right? Thank you to all of you that bought those tickets, by